My name is Rolla Tahir. This is I've Heard the Bedouins Singing on from May 5th to June 30th. This is sort of an extension of my film work. I'm primarily an independent filmmaker. I love working with analog film, and so I was looking around me to see what kind of resources I have available and what kind of materials I have available and figure out what I can do with that. And I've always loved textiles. I've just kind of sat around with these materials around me and figured out a way to bring them together. And I've always been a fan of Richard Kerr's light boxes. Obviously, I didn't want to go in that same direction, but I wanted something, again, that was repurposing this material. These weavings are inspired by the practice known as Sadu, which is a craft that is practiced in many of the Gulf countries, including Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, as well as Egypt, where actually I grew up. This piece is called Siwa. I wanted a piece in the show that kind of threw back to the Bedouin tradition of Sadu. And Siwa is one of the biggest oases in Egypt, where Bedouins practice this weaving tradition. So this is 35mm motion picture print. This is particularly the negative from my first film that I ever shot on 35mm. I like weaving with 35 because the canvas is bigger, but I think at some point as I try to expand this practice, I would want to experiment weaving with smaller gauge film like 16mm, maybe even Super 8. I love shooting analog because one, it grounds me. You have to learn the kind of fundamentals of shooting motion picture film, whether it's film or digital. The look of film is something that you still cannot get with digital. There is something intangible about it and very organic and durable too. Like, I mean, the fact that, you know, I'm weaving this film and it's almost like gaining a second life, and you can do so much with it that is not just, you know, shooting film. It results in so many little happy accidents that you can't ever plan for. With this piece, I wanted to almost force myself to move away from the traditional color combinations that you see in Sadu weaving, which are typically involve red, green, black, and white. So I purposefully turned away from those colors, but at the same time, the color that came to mind is the main thing that you think about when you think of oases. In a way, this was my favorite piece to make. It was also my first. I love the fact that you can kind of see a pattern emerging, but again, the pattern is very haphazard. It's again about following instinct, which is very much my process. My name is Rolla Tahir. This is I've Heard the Bedouins Singing on from May 5th to June 30th at Center 3.